Hi butterflies and other kids company children. So this week we're going to be learning all about animal classifications. So what that means, it's a big word, what that means is we're going to have a recap of all the different animals we've been learning about over the past few weeks. So animals are made up of different characteristics, different bits and bobs about them that make them special, and they're classified in different groups. So if you have a good think back of what we've been learning about since school shut down, we'll think about the different animals, and then we're going to think about all their different special characteristics that make them special and make them part of that group or that classification. So the first set of animals that we learned about was birds. Now, if you think about the different types of birds that we learned about, we learned that some could fly, some cannot fly. They all lay eggs, they have feathers, they have a beak to eat their food with and to build their nests with. They make nests either on the ground or in trees, and their babies are called chicks. Let's have a look at some beautiful pictures of some of the birds we learned about. The next group of creatures that we learned about was spiders. Now, spiders come from a classification called arachnids, which is made up of creatures that have 8 legs. We learned that some spiders can be hairy, they've got 8 legs, they've got about 8 eyes to look with. They make their homes out of a special silk that comes out of their abdomen, and this silk is then spun into something very special and very strong called a web, and they use the sticky web to catch their food, and they use their mandibles to eat their food with. Spiders was a very interesting subject, and we found some very cool spiders in our garden when we went to go and look. Let's have a recap and see what we found. We also learned about insects after spiders. Now remember, what makes insects special is that some of them can fly, so they've got wings, and they have 6 legs to walk with. Insects live all over the world in various different places, on the ground, in trees, by ponds and rivers, and they fly and they eat very vast array of different things, from leaves to bugs to tiny little creatures in the sand. But insects was a very beautiful theme, and we found some amazing insects on our insect hunt when we went to go and look in our garden and our surrounding areas. Let's have a look at what we found. Weren't those amazing? So the next group of creatures that we learned about was amphibians. Now you'll remember from the video that amphibians means that the creature spends some time in the water and some time on the land. A good example of an amphibian is a frog. We learned that frogs lay their eggs in the water. The eggs hatch into tadpoles. The tadpoles then undergo a beautiful change called metamorphosis, where they grow 2 front legs, 2 back legs, they lose their tail, and they turn into a frog. And the frog has a nice long sticky tongue that it sticks out, and it catches its food, which is mainly insects. Things like flies and butterflies and grasshoppers. Frogs have very strong back legs so that they can jump very far, generally from lily pad to lily pad and over the land where they go to look for food. our last set of animals that we looked at, which was last week, was reptiles. Now we'll remember also from the video the difference between a reptile and an amphibian is that reptile skin has got scales and their skin doesn't grow with them. So they have to shed their skin and grow a new one. We learned about lots of different types of reptiles. We learned that they lay their eggs in sand. We learned what they like to eat. We learned their different places that they live. Some live in the trees, some live on land. Others, like the sea turtles, live in the ocean, and crocodiles also live in fresh water and salt water. So we learned lots about where they live, what they eat, and where they like to sleep. Let's have a recap on all the different types of reptiles we learned about. Haven't we learned about amazing creatures so far? So the one classification or group of animals that we haven't covered in the learning over the past few weeks is a group called mammals. Now mammals cover a large area on the earth, and they can have 2 legs, they can have 4 legs, they have hair on their body, but their special trait is that they grow their babies inside their tummies, and their babies drink milk from the mommies. So you can think of many different types of mammals, from elephants to whales to lions to tigers, leopards, cheetahs. There's a very special group of mammals called marsupials, and most of them are actually found in the continent of Australia, which we'll cover later on in the year when we do continents. But marsupials give birth to their babies, and then their babies crawl all the way up and climb into a special pouch on their mommy's tummy. And they live in this pouch for 3 or 4 months until they're big enough to come out into the real world. These groups are very special. So you have creatures like koalas and kangaroos are the most common types of marsupials. Other marsupials are possums or wombats. Let's have a look at some pictures of different types of mammals that we find in the world, and then I will give you your art activity or your creative activity for the week. Wow, our planet has so much life, so many creatures, and so many things for us to learn about. So this week, because we're classifying all the different animals into their groups, we've got a fun way of doing this, and there's different ways of doing it depending on what you have access to at home. So you can either take a big piece of paper and then divide that piece of paper into the different groups. So we've got birds, we've got spiders, we've got insects, we've got amphibians, we've got reptiles, and we've got mammals. And then what you can do is have a look at the photo that I sent Mom and Dad on WhatsApp. And you can create your favorite creatures from those different groups using your hand and your foot. So we're going to create handprint and footprint animals for each classification. That should be loads of fun if you've got the time to do it. Otherwise, what you can do is also look at the photo I've sent Mom and Dad on WhatsApp, and you can put sticky contact adhesive paper on the window in all the different groups. So again, your birds, your insects, your spiders, your amphibians, your reptiles, and your mammals. And then what you can do, Mom and Dad can write out the name for you, and you can take a bunch of magazines and see if you can find the same letters that Mommy wrote you on a piece of paper and match them and stick them onto the contact adhesive paper and make your own classification papers. Then you can go through the same magazines and cut out different pictures of animals that fall into those different groups and make your own collage. If you don't have contact adhesive paper, just use normal white paper and make them into groups. And then you can also, if you want the challenge of finding the letters to create the words, then you can do that. Otherwise, mom and dad can just write the different group names for you on the paper, and you can go into your magazines and find all the pictures you need to. I really hope you can share some of your creativity and your inspiration with me, as I'd like to see how you've grouped all your animals together and learnt about these incredible creatures that we share our world with. Lots of love. Have fun.